Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting installment of First Peter from Alpha Ministries. Bill is here. He's on a pretty severe diet. It seems to be working. And there's Jim.
Mm-hmm.
And there he is.
Yeah.
Bill, how you doing, man?
I'm good.
We were just saying that's a pretty severe diet you're on. We couldn't see you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's Sorry about that. Pause for the cause.
No worries. How's everyone doing? Good? How's everybody doing? Good?
Awful quiet.
I was saying to Ron, this is going to get real because we're probably going to be start talking about taking the trip in. You know what I mean? And dealing with hate, and all that. And we're not even 30 seconds in. And how's everybody doing?
Silence.
But isn't that the truth? You know what I mean? Everything's hunky dory as long as you're talking about the weather and the kind of truck you drive and the kind of truck you don't drive. And
I would have said fine, but I know what would have happened.
Yeah, well,
you know what that means. I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah. So, what did you guys think of John's sermon on Sunday? I got 4 pages of notes, but it's like, let's just throw it around. Where were you at with it? Yeah, believe me, it's not a worth issue. It's all for me. I'm not. I've got to the realization. I've come out of the denial enough. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
You know, I'm thinking, man, it's going to be a good week. You know, I'm gonna talk at least four pages. And don't get me wrong, it's a small notebook. It's not, A4, but and 9 times out of 10, it isn't for you lot. It's for me. You know, the whole 4 pages. It's like this is what you're going to be dealing with. This is what you're dealing with. So how did Sunday hit you? Were you there? You were there, Bill, right?
Yeah. I sent a message to my daughter, and I actually had read something that struck me personally, and of course I can't find it now, but it was it had to do with starting with ourselves, recognizing our own problems and going from there with it, and recognizing that what's going on around me isn't necessarily what's going on around me isn't me. My circumstances don't make me, and been dealing with a lot of anger, and just attempting to hear God tell me what's going on and why I feel angry so easily. And the truth is that in those moments, I'm not believing the truth that everything is okay. And I don't want to hurt those around me. I don't want to hurt those that I care about, the people at church, you guys, the ones around me, of course, is my family, and most of all, my wife. And of course, that's who it turns around and hurts. And all I can think of is not my will, but yours be done. And it goes back to his prayer when he was sitting there talking to Dad. Of course, what's he doing? He's talking to Dad. which is the key to everything that he's saying, because he could be talking to a rock, but he wasn't. Jesus was talking to his Father and being an example to us when we're in that crossroads of, oh hell, what am I going to do? We've got to somehow see the truth, know that what I'm going through, what I'm feeling is not the truth. It's true feelings, it's true issues, but they're not. The only way they're going to kill me is if I choose to let them kill me. And ultimately, this stuff that we let mull over and brew and boil in us, ultimately it kills us. And, I don't want that either. And I don't want to be that kind of example to my children. First off, to my wife, and nor to my children. And I want to be able to recognize the truth. Oh, here it is. The most influential person in your life is the one you refuse to forgive. And I followed that up with, and that person can be yourself, and often is. And oddly enough, my daughter looked at that and said, wow, that's an eye-opener. And she didn't say another word that day. This is all in text, and she never said another word. But the reality is I was more speaking to myself than I was to her. And I got mad and I ate a hole in the wall. And over something, and it seems like it's always over something really, really stupid. And this was extremely stupid. And so, that's what happened with me. And when I heard John on Sunday, this when he said suffering unjustly, it didn't kick in. It didn't click. It's not, and then I got to thinking about all the illness and sickness that's been in my life for the last year and a half. And nobody's fault at all. Nobody can help that. And our surgeries and my heart and Gail's gut, and there's been so much. And if you look at that, part of the reason I sent that to Christina was because she is dealing with feelings of, what have I done to deserve this? And she truly believed or believes that God is letting things happen to her. So John on Sunday was speaking to me how to deal with it myself and with other people.
Are you done?
Yes.
No, I appreciate you getting real, man.
Well,
there isn't one other human being on planet Earth that can relate with you, but thanks very much. No, I'm kidding, of course. So I'm not going to answer that. But I'm going to bounce off of that. Right. So,
sure.
Just to give you another side of the flesh. Okay.
Yeah.
So yesterday, we went down to the doctor for Cindy to have her post-ops consultation with the doctor. And it went really well. and I'd been texting, texted Jim and said to him, I'll give you a shout on the way home, or, when I get home, whatever. Let me tell you something. I was in bed by 7 o'clock. We both were absolutely friggin' exhausted.
Sure.
And because this is the second, she had the back surgery, and then during I'm not sure if I told you, but they found a tumor here, a cyst tumor, and they took it out about a month ago tomorrow. And it was a biggie. It was a 5-hour surgery. And anyway, so yesterday we got the all clear, what she's feeling and going through is all part of recovery. And let me tell you something, I felt like I was hit like a bus. John spoke about the alarm stage briefly, fight or flight on Sunday.
Yep.
And I'm starting to see how my flesh loves to camp out in that resistance stage and say, yeah, no, everything's good, everything's fine. And I don't even feel it. You know what I'm saying? I don't even feel the stress or feel the pain or feel the whatever, because I'm just cruising. You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason, the way I was raised, the way, whatever. And I've had certain people, say to me, oh man, I don't know how you guys are dealing with it. I don't know how, she's dealing with it, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, because I didn't know it was there. There's been other things in my life that I've spoken to Jim about. But last night, it was like, it took everything in me to get her set up, and she's in the other bedroom, because I have a habit of, I dance in my sleep. and so we've set her up in there. And man, it was everything in me just to keep my eyes open before 8 o'clock. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking I'll be awake at 3. But I'm saying all that to say this. The slightest thing can trigger you, and ultimately it will always hit the flesh. The flesh is where the button is. The flesh is where the conditioning is. The flesh is where the carnal mind is. And it will always get pushed. But it's exceedingly wicked. And we don't even know what's in there until, the alarms go off, or, the alarm stage is over. You go into overdrive. You're in the resistance stage. I'll find a picture. It's in the Alpha book. And then you get to the end of the resistance stage, and you either die or you're just exhausted. Well, we were exhausted. I mean, she still is. She's in bed now. And it was so funny, because I was listening to John on today, and I'm thinking, absolutely, absolutely. We don't realize. I don't realize. I'm not going to lump you guys in on it. How secure we are, how significant we are in His love. Until the emergency's over, or until, like you say, Bill, something in you gets pushed, and next thing you know, you put a hole in the wall, or something like that.
Yep.
Does anybody else want to add to that?
I can. You guys have kind of stimulated my thoughts a little bit. If you want, I'll go with it. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on my phone tonight. My laptop, which I normally use, is in the hospital. Yeah. So I heard Bill mention about something boiling within us.
Yeah.
With you, Martin, it wasn't necessarily boiling, but you had to run a long stint on high adrenaline, which, maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing, because sometimes God has to use that for our own protection or for the benefit of others.
Absolutely.
But in either case, when you're in that state, or when you're in that boiling inside state, you're just one little needle that broke the camel's back away from just totally losing it. At least in my opinion. And I deal with John. I know for you guys have heard John talk about, and for the benefit of others that maybe haven't, that there's two types of ways of dealing with emotions, and two different types of personalities that deal with it in one of these two ways. And those are the people, you have the stuffers, and then you have the people that are the, what do they call them? Help me there. There's people that stuff them down, and then there's people that automatically just give the emotion right back to you. Yeah. Well, the stuffers tend to explode, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the other type of person is the type of person you never need to ask them how they're feeling, because they're constantly always telling you, and those are, I would call them maybe whiners. And but each of them have their dangers. So the whiners obviously are always talking about themselves and always telling you how they feel, and they're really not interested in how you feel because they're too busy telling you how they feel. So relationally, that's a wreck. But I think the stuffers, and I am one of them, and perhaps Bill kind of admitted that he is, and Martin, maybe you are too, that we stuff something down, we stuff it down. I'm okay. I can take this. I can deal with this. But what happens is that stuff gets stuck down there, and sooner or later, it's like this balloon. The pressure gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then somebody comes along, and with the slightest insult, perhaps, that balloon pops, and then it just blows all over the place. And then in my case, I can't control it. So 99.5% of the time, I have emotional control. But if you happen to be standing by when I lose it, you're going to get not just whatever you did or whatever I thought you did or said or whatever. You're going to get you and everybody else. And I'm just going to unload, and I can't stop it. I can't control it. So I think maybe that type of a defense mechanism of the flesh is even worse than the person that's constantly just complaining all the time. Maybe they don't let it build up. But either way, relationally, it's very dangerous, and it usually, like you guys were saying, it usually happens on the person that you spend the most time with.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Or the person that you have where the stakes are the highest, perhaps, So that's kind of what I thought about that. And Bill mentioned about forgiving yourself, and I think, man, that's really important, and I think it's step 7 in the 12 steps, that, you make a list of people that, you've harmed, and you become willing to make amends, and basically willing to ask them for forgiveness. And I think in most cases, we need to consider putting ourselves at the very top of that list. And it's not a selfish thing. I think it's a necessary thing.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to forgive yourself.
Yep.
and see yourself as God sees you. And just like godly forgiveness is spending it away, it empowers you to spend it away as well. But that honesty is definitely required. And perhaps maybe if you're not at the top of your list, perhaps you've been the victim of some terrible harm, and you could go around and talk to people, and everyone would agree that yes, you are a victim, and it's tragic what's happened to you. But the problem is unless you're able to, or willing, or at least you have to start with a willingness, God's going to provide the ability. Unless you're willing to forgive them, you're stuck, and you're always going to be a victim. And what we think, that's not fair. Well, what's better, to have fairness and be a victim, or to be willing to forgo fairness and have victory? And I'm not talking about victory in the sense of getting even. I'm talking about a victory of finally being free of that pain. you know. So that's kind of my thought on that. And it also includes people that, well, again, this is another one of my big faults is, you know, we could talk about our ailments because we're all old guys, so we can all sit around and commiserate on all of our ailments, you know. And you know, sometimes I can catch myself thinking, you know, why me, Lord? I mean, you know, why do I have a bad back? Why did I have to have surgeries? Why did I have to get knee replacements? Why do I always hurt? Why do I have arthritis? I can ask all those things, you know, but it doesn't really do anything about it. It doesn't help. But I could say, well, Lord, that's unfair. I didn't do anything to deserve this. Or just like the person say, you know, I got rear-ended in a car accident. That wasn't my fault. Why do I have to hurt the rest of my life? You know, but it, you know, so you could be mad at God. So I think when you're making your list, you also need to include God in the list and be willing to tell him how mad you are at him and ask him what's going on, you know, rather than put like a religious code on it and say, oh no, I'm not mad at God. Praise God. Hallelujah, brother. I'm doing great. I'm fantastic. Life's perfect. You know, man, that's bull. That's bull.
Stand those.
No, I can't either. But
they make me sick. It's like, that's not real life.
But it's a coping mechanism that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And it's just as unhealthy as feeling sorry for yourself, you know, which is my biggest problem, you know, problem with my flesh. Then another thing I was thinking about is, as you guys were talking, was about, all right, let's say you can get past the why me, but even if you get past that, you're still going to grieve. And I mean, I'm talking about, like, for instance, in my case, I grieved not being able to do the things that I used to do because of my physical abilities are now limited. I can't do some things, you know, and you miss them. You know, you grieve for that loss. And how do you deal with that? You know, what fills in that hole? You know, there's got to be something to fill in that hole in your life. You know, rather, you know, if it was like a recreational activity that you really enjoyed, you can't do it anymore. You know, how do you deal with that grief? And then finally, I'm going to say one more thing. I'm going to talk about a friend of ours, and I don't know if you guys know, but John Hale has a severe back issue that just came up really out of nowhere. And just pray for him, because I'm sure, talking to him, he's dealing with those same things that we've just been talking about. And I don't know where it's going to go. But, you know, he's a very active person, and it's going to be hard for him it's hard for him. He's got 2 weeks. He's got to do nothing. That's very hard for him. So, and I don't want to tell his secrets, but pray for him.
Yeah. You know, one thing that I see in all this is that you can't give what you don't have. And if I don't go to God and seek forgiveness of myself, I can't go out and forgive others. I can't deal with it. And that's why I can't deal with it, because I haven't begun with me. And so, no, that's not selfish. It's needful. You know, I can write a check to any of you. I know how to write a check. And I can write that check for $2 million. I can write it for $1 million. I can write it for $100,000. And either way, all three checks are going to bounce. I can't give you what I don't have. You know, so the reality is, forgiveness has got to, the way I see it, and I could be wrong, but the way I see it, forgiveness has to start with number one, me. Yeah. And sometimes when I don't know what's going on, you know, it's like, God, literally those words, I don't know what's going on, but I am so freaking angry inside. I'm so out there. I don't know what to do next. And I find when I'm at that place, it's almost as though, matter of fact, 2 weeks ago at Men's Fellowship, we were talking, we were doing this, doing that, and it became very negative. And I was last and very negative. And all of a sudden, my mouth opened and there was nothing more to say. And the whole group went silent. There were 8 of us. And finally, and I thanked him last night because he came again last night and I got to see him, but it was 3 weeks ago because he'd been gone 2 weeks. David Luther showed up again last night. And I told him, I said, look, I want to thank you for 2 weeks for when you were here last, because he made the turnaround for all of us. He took it back to the truth. No condemnation. He gives peace, this, that, I mean, just all the things that you can think of that were positive. And the evening ended on a positive note. And it was absolutely amazing. It was amazing to watch this happen. And I literally got to the point where I just, not one word could come out of my mouth. That's how devastated, I can't think of any other word, I was over, I don't know what. I don't know. So later on, it was like, God, what happened? What was that? Where, and I keep, of course, I'm just in a mishmash, I don't know how to say it, over how ill Gail is. And there's all the fears that go with that. And all the concerns and and mostly for her, I just want her well. And she asked me the other day, was she going to get better? And I said, yes, you are. Because I have to believe that for her at this point. And so when these things happen, when these bursts, these flashes happen, and I don't mean to demeanor what happened, but by just calling it a flash, I don't want to make it some small thing. But it is important to look at oneself and recognize, Father, if I've done things that I need to forgive myself for, please help me to do that now. Let's get this over with. And then I need to go on and talk to you about this and that and this and that, and go through the list with the Father. And since the other day, that's what I've had to do. And he's there. He talks to me. He tells me he loves me. He tells me, you're already forgiven. I did that back in 1973 when you accepted me as your Savior. You were forgiven then for this. And yet, knowing that I was going to do this stuff, he let me live. It all just blows my mind.
Anyone else?
I'll go, Ron, unless you want to go first.
He's muted.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. I talked to John Glenn one time. I was trying to tell him what a hard time I was having dealing with my emotions and all the stuff that was going on. He looked at me. He said, you're not dealing with it. You're repressing it. You're just stuffing it down.
Yeah.
So what's happening, because I personally think it's just, for a man, I think it's our pride. It's the pride of the flesh. For Martin's is English pride, and it's a little more intense. But either way, it's still pride that doesn't want to admit what you're feeling, because it's a sign of weakness. So what happens is things start building up and building up and building up and building up, and we just keep pushing it down, and we just keep going. It's almost like we're pretending like it's not there until finally you just blow. And most of the time with me, when that happens, like Bill, I'll have some major flesh flash and it's like, holy shit, where did that come from?
Uh-huh.
And it surprises me because I thought I was dealing with stuff. No, I've been stuffing it. You stuff it and you just keep going forward. John had talked about confession. And he said that confession means agreeing with God about our hatred or about whatever it is that in the beginning you guys were talking and you reminded me of I have a Jewish friend of mine. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but one thing God put him in my life, I used to judge all the Jews. You know, they don't tip well and they're picky eaters and they're this and that. And so the Lord put one in my life. And I got to learn a little bit about their character, their belief system, the way they handle things. And the one thing that stuck out that I noticed about him was we could be at a restaurant, and if something went down that wasn't right, he spoke up right at the time, and he dealt with it right on the spot, and then he let it go and moved on. Time and time again, I watched him do that. In other words, as everything happened, he dealt with it right on the spot. He didn't stuff nothing. But at the same time, he wasn't whining and complaining either. He dealt with it and then he let it go and he moved on. And I think that's a good quality. I mean, I certainly haven't mastered it, but I remember, and he very seldom, I mean, because he, you know, for example, you know, they say they overcharged or something. He would confront them about it, deal with it right on the spot. They would either fix it or he'd say, okay, well, we're never coming back or whatever it is. But he dealt with it right on the spot and then he let it go and he moved on. So anyway, confession was agreeing with God about our hatred. Reminded me of taking the trip in. I got a few things on here. John said that hatred was the devil's food. The demons feed on that. And that hit me like a 2x4. See, because I come from that. That used to be me. And now I can see that I was controlled by darkness for many, many years. And I hurt a lot of people. And the other thing he said was living out the gospel is not a religious duty. It's a healthy lifestyle. Jesus destroyed the power of Satan so that we could be free from their influence and force in our life. Well, that's happening to me. It's happened to me because they don't have me anymore. I don't wallow in self-pity. I'm not hating. I get angry, but I'm not hating. And I still deal with the anxiety. I'm coming out of it. I'm doing better. And it's only because the Lord's reminded me that I'm not alone, because a lot of that comes from abandonment issues that I have from childhood. And it's kind of like you're just a little kid and you're tossed out into this big ass world and go figure it out for yourself. It's overwhelming. It can get overwhelming. No one to talk to, and at least you think there's no one to talk to and nobody's going to understand. And anyway, so he shows up and lets me know that he's with me everywhere I go. I'll never be alone again. So it helps pull me out of it. Spiritual warfare is enhanced and empowered by hatred. Once again, that's where I come from. So it made me realize, I mean, I was in it bad. That was my whole identity. The more damage I could do, the more fear that I could instill in other people, the more recognition I got. I had no worth as a person. I had no identity at all. So by acting out, I mean, I went down the road. There's a lot of people that went a whole lot further than I did. Thank God I didn't go any further than I did. Anyway, then the main thing that stuck out for me was when he talked about a good conscience is one that has no guilt. And it's because you believe everything God says is true, that he's done for you. And I'm actually walking in that. And so I kind of asked the Lord, because I just wrote down, you believe. Well, he said, what do you believe? Well, I believe I'm dead indeed to sin. I can't sin. I'm not sinning now, never have, and never will. I'm dead to the law. There's no rule to be broken. His love is unconditional, period. I'm alive unto God. Secure and significant. I'm loved and accepted and forgiven right now, totally. I'm secure in his love, and I'm important. My life has meaning and purpose, and I'm adequate to do whatever he's called me to do because his spirit's inside of me, enabling me to do that. Gives me a sense of significance. I am secure and significant because of what he's done for me. I couldn't do for myself. I didn't do it. He did it. He gave it to me. And then I'll never be alone. He's given the Holy Spirit the helpmate, or the paraclete, kind of like a sucker fish.
Oh.
And then we can't lose. So my Father loves me. He's never trying to punish me or play some guilt trip with me, or it's a lot, like Martin said years ago when I first met him, it's a love affair. That's what's actually happening. God is loving me so much and opening my eyes to see it, that I'm loving him back. And I'm seeing that he is love. He's not, there's no condemnation. And then all this, the guilt and condemnation is in the flesh. So anytime that we're feeling guilty or condemned, we're seeing ourselves as our flesh. It ain't us. So we just had that conversation in the class yesterday. It's not a cop-out, because you go rob the bank, and when they come to arrest you, you can tell them, I didn't do it, my flesh did it. So they're going to take your flesh to jail. Well, we happen to live in the same body with the flesh, so we're going too. So it's not a cop-out. But what the Lord told me, that there's no condemnation for not being able to behave yourself. That's exactly how he said it to me. And he said it Sunday morning. He told me that. There's no condemnation for not being able to behave yourself, because I'm so performance oriented. I think we all are. We judge ourselves based on our performance. And if we do good, we can feel good about ourselves. But if we punch holes in the wall, then we feel guilty and condemned. It's his love. It's believing that I'm loved. Believing that I am totally, absolutely, 100% secure in God's love and significant in his plan that causes me to behave myself. It all comes from what I'm believing. And when I'm not believing, hang around me, you'll see some flesh, because I got some. But the thing is, it's not if, it's when you're going to do it. Okay, we're never not going to have a flesh flash, because if it could happen, I'd have perfected it already. Okay, the thing is how long are you going to stay there?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's getting fewer and further in between, and that's maturity. That's you're growing in your identity in Christ when that happens. So I'm believing that I'm the new man more than I'm believing I'm the old man. You know, and that's it.
Thanks, man. Ron, I'm going to put you on before Frank because you showed up on time. You performed well.
Well, that's all right. I don't hate you for that. Might be a little angry, but I don't hate you.
Amen, brother. Praise the Lord.
I love it.
You know, that whole sermon just went down. I wrote down, I don't know, 6, 7 questions I had that came to my mind as he's going through that. And, you know, he said you can be angry without hurting somebody. And that was a question in my mind that just has stuck. And I haven't really got an answer for that. I'm still churning on that one. But I don't know. The example, and he went into it a little bit, that he gave was that when Jesus went into the temple and turned over the money changers' tables and made a little whip and started getting all the animals out of there and that sort of thing, he was angry. I mean, he was angry. Now, did he hurt somebody? I don't know. That's the question I have. Did he, slapping a duck on the butt or whatever with the whip? Did he miss and hit one of the money changers? I mean, I had no idea. And we're not told any of that. But it was just a question that drives a lot of different things that I think about. And being in a presidential election year, I think a lot about politics, and I know I'm angry. I haven't done anything to hate the ones most that I hate, but I still hate them. But it got me back to this question, and this is one that I've had with a pastor I have, and that is when it comes to warfare. And can I go to battle to fight for our country, to fight for our homeland, and actually shoot somebody without hating them? I mean, the anger seems to be a neutral place there. Or at least that's the way it's been put forth, that it's neutral. You can be angry and yet not sin. I mean, I look back, and Martin, I hope you don't take any offense by this, but I look back to the American Revolution and how that came about and how many of our founding fathers were believers. How many of them that, they're the ones that coined the phrase that our freedoms come from our creator, not from King George. And that I think the same concept exists yet today. Our freedom, our rights as human beings come from God, not from some form of government. And so when I see a government trying to do away with our rights, that angers me. And I do get angry about that. I think that's why he's probably set me on a rock and where nobody else is around me most of the time, because I don't even want to get into those discussions with the opponents, because I know what I do. I blow up. And so it's that type of thinking that I have. I mean, can just being angry with them, can that hurt them? Or does it have to go all the way to hate before I hurt them? Or am I not understanding the difference, or is there a difference between anger and hate?
I think if you don't, can I jump in here?
Sure.
I think Jim's example of his friend, the Jewish guy, is a perfect example of what you're talking about. You can be angry at the circumstance or angry at the thinking from the person that's standing in front of you, but that doesn't mean you necessarily have to hate them. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't mean you have to get in the truck and go, well, that server was an idiot, or that, that food was terrible. It's over. The problem is, in a world that's programmed for division, and with everything that's coming in, everyone's been desensitized. Like Jim said, we're all hating. We're just in denial. And if it wasn't for the fact that the Holy Spirit's alive and kicking in all of us, we'd walk around in la la land. But just like when, Jesus was angry with the market, with the money tenders in the church, in the temple, he was angry at the circumstances. He was angry at the behavior. He didn't hate the people, and that's the difference. That's what marriage counseling's all about.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that, Martin, that I don't believe that Christ hated those money changers. I think he hated what they were doing. You can go back to even in the Old Testament where he says, Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hated. It wasn't, I don't think he was talking about a person, but a being, a state of being that they were in. So I guess in a practical sense, where it was boiling down to me is if I'm called to go to war as a soldier, and my job as a soldier, as a combat soldier, was to go shoot the enemy. Can I shoot them without hating them? Or should I not shoot them at all? Or, the only answer I can come up with that in my mind, and I think that that's probably the point of this idea of hating and not hating, and being angry but don't hate, don't sin. I think that in situations like that, it boils down to the leadership of the Spirit in the person that you are, in the individual that you are, and that his leadership will direct you, whether you do or you don't.
Absolutely.
I think that it kind of, for me, puts the personal leadership of the Spirit in the individual's life as the goal, not my behavior.
John made a comment one time. I forget who he was talking about. But he said sometimes the best way to love them is to nuke them.
That's the kill them all and let God sort them out deal on that. Could I jump in though and make a comment? And I'm not going to use the war example because I'm going to have to, as you said, let you and God work that out. But on the issue, you talked about politics earlier, Ron, and I think it's a good example. It's like, being angry, it's not a pleasant emotion, but it's necessary in our lives, and there's good in it. Right? Hating, because when Jesus said, if you hate your brother, you killed him already. Murder, there's no good in that. And there's a difference between murder and killing. I'm not going to get into that, but all right, so let's talk about politics. All right, so if you have a position in politics, and that you're angry about the things that you're seeing on one side and you want to take up the cause for the other side, I think it will motivate you. Motivate's the key word there, to do things that you wouldn't normally do. Like, I would not normally write a check to a political campaign. That's not what I would normally do. I would not go out and campaign for someone, or go to door or be a volunteer or whatever. I would not normally do that. All right. But that anger being a motivation would drive me to do things I would not normally do, because I feel that it's something that I'm called to do. It's just like the difference between concern and anxiety. Okay. Concern will make you get up in the morning early and deal with a problem. Anxiety is different in that it will keep you up all night so that in the morning you're not nearly as rested and not really as able to deal with the problem. So anxiety is a negative. It has a negative consequence, but concern has a positive consequence. Although I still don't like have to be concerned about things, So I think that's the difference in between anger and why we have to experience anger. Because if we don't ever experience anger, if we never experience concern, we would go through this state of being fat, dumb, and happy, and we would never want to get off the couch. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but as far as your example of war, I think you definitely hit the nail on the head. You have to couple that with, how do I deal with that? And I think the leadership of the Spirit is the only way you're going to be able to deal with that. And guessing yourself and having that, whatever you ended up having to do or were prepared to do, haunt you the rest of your life.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tom. That's kind of the conclusion I came to, was that that's so important to hear the Lord speaking to you as an individual, and to make your decisions of doing based on what He's leading you to do, not on, well, I have to do this or I have to do that. My own leaning, not on my own understanding, is what I'm saying. And but the idea that anger is a motivating factor, I appreciate that, because that brings in a little different light to my thinking on these issues, on this issue. And so, yeah, I agree with you 100% on that anger is a motivator. It can motivate you to do good, or it can motivate you to do evil. And that's where you need the discernment of the Spirit guiding you into doing what is good. So I really appreciate that, Tom. Thanks.
Oh, I just want to add here. Did anybody catch the definition of walking in the light that John gave on Sunday?
He said when we're agreeing with God about our hatred, we're seeing both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at that versus what religion tells you. Oh, you're not allowed to be angry. You're not allowed to hate. You're not allowed to.
Right.
Here we are having this conversation, and it's dawning on me. We're walking in the light. This is real life.
Yeah.
That's how we be angry and sin not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we avoided going in the wrong direction there.
Yeah. Frank, how you doing, buddy?
Wow, guys had to end up with that statement. That was pretty profound. Seeing both sides for what it is. That's good. That's almost when you're saying agreeing with God. But I went ahead and I just got off my own therapy session. I'm done. So, I'm still thankful that I got rid of. It was.
Frank, your microphone's not working, man.
Huh?
Your microphone's not working. You look like a Chinese movie.
Are you kidding me?
Now we can hear you.
Go for
Did you
it.
hear anything that I just said?
No.
Was it profound?
It was absolutely profound. You missed it. You missed it. And God made you miss it for a reason.
Yeah, you're
Now
not
we got to
living
figure it
right.
out for ourselves.
No, I was just saying that I had everything in my head already planned out until you went ahead and you made that statement about agreeing with both sides is where you're in it. It took me in a whole different direction. You guys made some really, really good points. I have been listening on Facebook before I chimed in a little bit to see where you're at, but I made the statement that I just got out of my own therapy session for the past hour and was able to deal with a lot of stuff. Not bad, but it's just, you have to have a fresh perspective outside of, this, see from a real perspective what's really going on. And it's all good. It really is. I like my issue in viewing what's going on is what I heard the message over the week. The only thing I really took out of this was right in the opening. Hatred, anger to hatred. How quickly that happens. I looked at the message, but it stuck out right there. Those are the three words I had to hear. And I tried to digest that, and I can't really say that I had the hatred. I have what's something I question myself as confusion. Why people don't see things all the way through. Why don't people see things like I see them? And I get angry with that because things aren't going on my way. Things aren't lining up in my head. And it's okay because I don't expect people to, but for somehow my brain tells me that we need to think like-minded, and I get all twisted where, well, we're not, because you're over here and I'm over here. We're seeing different things on different angles. So anyways, I have been dealing with people that are not in my arena of the social work stuff, but I'm being asked to train them in my field after 30 years of my experience to get them acclimated quite quickly. And I won't go into every situation. I just came from the reason why I jumped on with my therapist is because I had to visit a mental health ward today in the jail, and not getting any detail. I think I voiced my concern before. I don't like doing this anymore. I don't like seeing that in a human being. I don't like seeing that behavior, but I had to speak to a full-blown schizophrenic, personality, just all over the place. Somebody that's not there, but was very brilliant. And I had to listen very carefully to what he was trying to deliver to me as I was trying to deliver a message to him. And it was okay, but I got out of there as quickly as I could, along with my other colleagues, because I don't like that space anymore. I don't actually want to know in the world that people are that lost. And if I could have just said, what we're talking about and connect with somebody like that, that would be really cool. But there's a place and there's a time when that comes. I took a lot out of that session, but I had to process a lot. I really did. And this is a sick time. I won't talk about politics, but if I'm going to sit here and be real, there's a lot of concern. I don't like aging because for some reason, everything's starting to make sense to me, politics, where we're at, country, things like that. More so this year than ever in my entire life. It's just like I'm overly concerned, and I don't really know politics. I don't analyze, and I only interpret things the way I hear them. I don't enter conversations with that because I can't, because I don't like that place of confrontation, right and wrong, with people who believe that they're right. But I'm saying all this because it's really interesting to look at things from all avenues right now, all angles. And at the very core center, I do realize all the time that I'm okay. And everything is okay. There's nothing out of whack other than if you could just shut off the blinders and you don't want to hear it no more. Sometimes I wish that would happen because I really don't like to hear, and I really don't like to know everything that's really happening in society. It's sick. And, I'm glad that I'm not with a group of people who, profess to be all self-righteous and everything, because we're not. We're dealing with shit day in and day out. Every one of your comments and your stories and the people that we love and that are hurting right now, I heard, and I'm like, that is real. That's what goes on in all of us, and there is that hatred, anger, hurt, back and forth. But it's all, it's easy to say everything's going to be okay, but it's a very strange area to be with in time right now, because I'm feeling all the emotion and all the roller coaster stuff. And it's absolutely okay. I actually like seeing real. And what I'm really was freaking out about today that I had to speak this to a therapist is that I know I'm on an upswing right now and everything's just going, it's going really well. It really is. A lot of things, personal, physical, spirit, a lot of things are lining up and doing well. At the same time, I realize I'm going on that upper portion of the valley. And there's going to be that, that's that tendency. We know when's that rug going to get pulled out?
Right there.
Right now.
That's it. You just went blank.
The rug has been pulled.
Yeah, that's my daughter trying to chime in. She's calling me from California. But anyway,
Perfect timing.
that valley is just a scary place because I know that we're going to have a downswing, and maybe it won't. Maybe it won't be so devastating as it always has been. There's a level of fear there, and you want to stay on that plane, and your eyes want to be open and alert, and you want to sleep well and feel well when you pick up in the morning and carry on God's duties. But we know that we're going to have those crashes, and I was just voicing it. To find out, it's like perfectly normal. It's normal. But I know internally that I'm okay. I'm okay, and I know the end result. I know where that all leads to. But how simple we can just either turn a blind eye, or you can really analyze and look into that hatred, that hurt, and that hatred goes real fast. So it's been good. It really has been good. And I did everything in my power to try to avoid you guys tonight. I really did. I tried to get out of this. I tried to come in late. I'm like, I did have excuses, and they were valid. But I was like, maybe I can get out of it, but I heard you on Facebook, and I'm like, I'm trying to gobble down my food after the session. I'm like, oh, this is getting really good, So I don't know if I'm helpful or not, but I can relate to each and every one of you. And I know I'm over here, but I'm with you. And I will keep all those people in prayer, and it's going to be okay.
Cool, man. Cool.
Yeah, you are helpful. Thank you. I'm glad that you
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Listen to the flesh. You're on the up and up. Everything's going good. there's that little fleshly voice in the back of your head going, "Don't relax, don't enjoy it. You know the shit's gonna hit the fan sooner or later. You know, oh, there it is. You know, yeah, man.
I got in touch with.
I think that's important points that you brought about those peaks and valleys. I think it's really important.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Jim.
I got in touch with something while Frank was talking. And when Bill started it off talking about the anger and the holes in the wall and all that, I used to stuff everything until, well, this is how I grew up. This is what I thought was normal. You stuff it until you blow. And when you blow, you beat everybody up and destroy shit. That's what I used to do. I mean, extreme. Okay. Just let me say it that way. It was very extreme. But the Lord showed me that degree of murderous rage is the same degree of hurt and fear. It's the little kid that's really scared shitless. He's afraid and he's hurt. And that's how it comes out. So that's something to get in touch with when we're confessing to God, agreeing with God about our hatred, our murderous rage. He'll show us where it comes from. And it's back there. There's external circumstances. We're in a sin-cursed body that's falling apart. We're in a sin-cursed world that's falling apart. We've got the whole world is living as if there is no God. And the way things were going, it looked like darkness was winning. It's starting to look like it's turning around a little bit, maybe. But so there's a lot of key factors there that are happening in the natural realm. Of course, the flesh is going to freak because it's scared. So, I mean, mine does.
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's not, if everything's going good, it's looking for something to freak out about.
Absolutely.
It's always looking for something to be wrong or something to be freaked about. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, you said it. Like, there's things that you really enjoy. I mean, your activities. What happens when you have a bad back? You're a horse rider. That's something you've really enjoyed all your life. I'm thinking about, I really want to get back on a horse, but you know what? I don't think so. But if we got to ride off in chariots, I don't want to have a bad back.
Well, you do. You grieve that, but I just want to make one point because Jim brought it out, and I don't want it to go unnoticed. Is that I talked a lot about the problem, but Jim, in one word, offered the solution to the problem, and that word was
Say that again, Tom.
Okay, sorry.
Somebody's trying to chime in on me. Call me here.
I offered a lot about the problem, in my comments, but Jim offered the solution to the problem in one word, and that was confession. I think that's really important. And then what I mean by confession, I'm not talking in the religious sense. I'm talking about in the being real sense. Admitting it.
And there is no formula. Just get it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, because we're going to be feeling guilty and condemned while we're getting it out. And then he turns around, and the way that he loves us is by showing us that that's not us anymore.
Right.
That's not even us.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, we're I don't want to cut it short. I could keep going. If you want to keep going, we can keep going. But 8:10. Has anybody got anything else that's pressing on them?
Okay, Martin, keep a stiff upper lip, and hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way.
You know what, man? That would be funny if it wasn't my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But self-preservation is universal. So
Yeah.
take the log out of your own eye.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm just jabbing at you, man.
No, but the thing that really I think, Jim, I think everybody's hit it tonight. The thing that when you go to the thing that you're scared of, let's say the hatred and you start talking to the Lord about what is really going on, and he starts to reveal to you what is going on in you, and he still continues to talk to you and still continues to hang out with you, the truth becomes real in your life. Because he's just revealed his grace to you. And until he does that, it's all that. And it's scary. I mean, we're talking about if your hand offends you, chop it off. If your eye offends you, poke it out. This isn't pleasant. But the freedom that's on the other side of that is absolutely priceless. I mean, it's so when that stiff upper lip kicks in, the tendency now is to snitch on it, whether it's to one of you guys or Cindy, or it's just like, and honestly, you sound like an absolute head case. I could have a room next to the guy that Frank had a meeting with this afternoon.
Yep.
But that's walking in the light, man. That's what John was talking about. Is walking in the light. Is that knife edge? Is that I'm so relieved that everything doesn't have to be hunky dory. You know what I'm saying? Because
it's not.
My life isn't. You know what I'm saying? And oh man, what a relief! What a relief. Anyway. Anybody got anything else?
Condemnation, not being able to behave ourselves.
Yeah. Bill, you want to go through the comments? We got a few here.
Sure. Patrick Zent is with us. Chuck Warren. Patrick is asking for prayer for tomorrow. I'll read it. Pray for me tomorrow. Guys, I'm going to Denver to get a Faith Farm brother in relapse. Sending him back to Florida to start over. He's born and raised in Florida, ended up homeless in Denver because of bad choices. And homeless in Denver this time of year, that's not pretty.
No, sir.
Lisa Love's with us. Kelly Odom. And then let me get down here. Lisa Schwartz, thank you all for being transparent. I'm so realizing the similarities of struggle and how you have believed the truth. I can relate and am dealing with years of religious activity to major loss, unbelief and being false, fake and phony. And I'm not sure what Richard means, but
that's who's writing it.
Oh, okay. All right. Lisa. Okay. So Richard and Lisa. Okay. And sorry about that, Richard. And then Barbara Kelly, awesome and very encouraging discussions. I have to tell you, Ron, you welled up something in me that made me think, and I don't know the answer. I want to know. I want to say the answer, but I don't know that it's true. Your brother could probably tell you because he and I both did the same job. But when we're being shot at, we react because I made a conscious decision as a cop that I was going to go home every day. And I did. Now I realize that all of that is, if God had chosen 20 years ago for me to die, then I would have died then. He didn't, and I'm here today. But what I'm saying is that I didn't. Now I'm mulling over in my mind. Did I hate that person? When I drew that weapon and was ready to kill, did I hate them? And honestly, the first answer
No.
I have is no.
Mm-mm.
It was survival. I was going to survive. That's why and honestly, we're taught to practice in front of a mirror because we have these fancy holsters with little buttons on them that let the gun come out. And if you don't push the button, the gun doesn't come out. And by the way, the guys in the prison practice pushing that button so they can get my gun. So, but what I'm getting at is that I don't have to hate somebody to be willing to survive, for me to survive. I don't even know them. I have no reason to hate them. And I will include the fact that they're shooting at me. They've got some other issue going on. They're just shooting at me because I'm law enforcement. That's it. They don't know me. And but that's my initial answer. But now I'm thinking, I'm sitting here thinking, did I hate them? Did I, was there hatred in that? Was there, when the fight came on, there was one particular time when we caught a burglar, literally half in, half out of the window. And when we pulled her back out, we recognized her as an AIDS victim who started spitting in our faces, trying to stop us. But at the same time, had we died from AIDS, she'd have been guilty of murder.
Yeah.
And we took her down and she went to jail. But did we hate? I don't know. Now I don't know. So, but it does. It makes you think. Did I? Don't I? But I think initially survival.
Yeah, but see, if you were hating, it would be evident in your tone of voice, in your demeanor, and everything. Just explaining that right there. When you're hating, it comes out a whole lot different.
Oh,
emotionally.
Yeah.
So probably not.
Yeah, probably not. But you're surviving. You're taught to survive. You're taught to go home, to make it home. And I mean, both of your brothers were taught that same thing. One in Vietnam and one here. That's all.
That is so good you brought that up. I won't stay on long, but last night, Bill, it's so funny you brought that up. I was in scenarios. I went to a range and I had to go through all kinds of scenarios. This was not to do the agency, but I did it because a friend of mine just opened up a new shooting range.
Uh-huh.
All simulation. So I was in all the different high-tech scenarios. I got shot a couple times.
Yeah.
I tell you how real it is right now. The slight changes and what you can, what you can't do. The reality it was mind blowing. But so I just wanted to share that it was pretty cool the way technology is moving now. It's fun because a whole nother conversation we'll get into, but my family's they're very not gun friendly.
Yeah.
with guns, but it was the first time we got to arrange, do it under simulation. It opened up a different window to her. She actually was like, okay, fair enough. It's just another tool.
Yep.
Not used properly, it can, things can happen.
Yeah.
But anyways, good story. That's good.
Hazard pay, and I want overtime pay
For what? For what?
because it's 20 after 8.
I knew it.
Payroll's
Check.
running, dude.
We're
Check in the mail.
doubling your salary.
That's right.
Yeah.
What you,
Just Bill Alpha Ministries.
Hazard pay just because of the conversation, and overtime because it's 20 after.
checks in the mail, Jim.
Amen, bro. All right. On that note, on that spiritual note, at least that's better than a dad joke.
I'm just
You know what I
looking at both sides.
Yeah.
All right. Tom's got the Cowboy Church on Sunday at 9 on Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, and I apologize for last Sunday because that was the when I discovered that my laptop needed to go in the hospital, and I was not able to do it Sunday at the last minute.
No worries. Reach Community Church in Fort Pierce on US 1 with Bob Jernigan and Dave Shields Sunday at 9. And then Freedom Ranch at 11. Thanks everybody for joining us. Didn't mean to run so long, but it was good. Thanks, guys. I got a lot out of it. Thanks for being real. It's great to be in company with people that are like-minded. Anyway, love you all. See you next week.
Thanks.
Love you.